going to be like generating sounds and cool stuff like that. You can find those on the internet. This is going to be kind of ranty. I hope I don't make the mics crackle. So my name's Blaine Bublitz. You can find me on GitHub at Faded. If you can't remember that, it's Fat Ed. I started a company not last December, the December before, with my business partner Louis. You might have saw us talk earlier. It's called IceDev. We do JavaScript consulting and HTML5 gaming. We're always looking for awesome, fun projects, so if you have anything, hit me up. We also have fantastic shirts to give away, limited edition, and I want to give all of them away, so find me and take a shirt. We have an open source game engine called Frozen.js, and we've been working on it really hard for the last 5 months. We've put out 4 versions in that time, and we're really proud of it. We want to actually start like making games for money, but right now we're consulting. Go use it, submit issues, tell us what's wrong with it, stuff like that. We also have awesome stickers that look like that, so get them too. And I run hackathons in Phoenix, where I'm from, and we did an HTML5 game hackathon in December, Arduino in March, and if you want to have awesome time and you're in Phoenix or close to Phoenix, you should definitely come out because we have tons of prizes, and also always looking for sponsors. So gather around, everybody, while I tell you a story of ancient times when the proprietary ones ruled the world and made us do horrible things like embed and object, until one day the HTML5 warriors vanquished them and delivered unto us multimedia. Most of you explored the sunny lands of the audio and video tag, but very few ventured into things such as WebAudio and codecs and mobile. I decided to take on this challenge, so I donned my adventurer's gear. And before I even began my quest, the great wizard Daltonius uttered these words to me: "Sound will aid you." I told him that I was going to be working on sound, and he was right. Sounds are important. We can all agree that sounds are important. If you've ever watched a movie or a TV show or played a game with the sound off, it's not the same. When I was little, I was scared of Chucky, so I turned off I muted it, and it's just a stupid doll running around with a knife in his hand. It's kind of funny, actually. And I didn't plug in the speaker thing, so we're going to do this really loud. I kind of wanted to play a game. Sounds are iconic. If you can hear these and you know them, shout out what you think they are. All right. Yeah. Sonic, nice. Pac-Man dying, there's Pac-Man out there, yeah. Mega Man dying, yes. So we all, a lot of us recognize them. They bring you back to a moment. They bring you back to memories. Sounds are iconic, and they add a lot. Sounds are also very hard. Ask anybody that does sound, not just in the browser, but sounds are hard. I don't know why we haven't made it easier. So my perspective is from Frozen.js, which we've been working on. So it's coming from a games perspective. A lot of this talk will be influenced by that, and hopefully you can take it and apply it to web apps, stuff like that. But I just wanted to point out that it's towards games, I guess. So let's take a look at, like I said, web audio versus HTML5 audio, like how to implement kind of the same things in each. Codecs, how to deal with codecs, that's, you'll see. And mobile. And that's where the ranting comes in. So the first implementation of Frozen, it had a sound implementation, but it was just web audio. So that was like the best foot forward. That's the technology that we want to use. But it didn't have any fallbacks, or nothing happened if you didn't have WebAudio. So my partner Louis implemented it at the first implementation, and he did something right? He started with WebAudio, like this technology that they've developed for us, for games and stuff. It says in spec. He did something horribly wrong. He only implemented WebAudio and expected that the browser vendors actually cared enough to get it out quickly. So you can see by this can I use thing that Chrome has had it for a long time. And it just got into Safari and iOS Safari, which is really cool. And it looks like it's coming in Firefox. It's actually in nightly unflagged right now. And who knows about IE? It might not, I don't know. And there's bugs open for Firefox, Android. I definitely encourage you to go there, +1 them at least. Show people, or show the browser vendors that we want them, that we need them, or that we need these APIs. So if we start with WebAudio, what do we get? Things like very high performance, low latency, so like you can fire 1,000 sounds a second, right? Like just crazy amounts of sound processing and playing and all this stuff. It actually uses buffers instead of resource loading. So the HTML5 audio tag goes through a resource loading process and streams the data down and plays it. But WebAudio, if we're just going to play a sound, we grab the whole buffer and we know when we have it and stuff. So start with WebAudio, but fall back. Like I said, he did something horribly wrong. The browser vendors don't move as fast as we would like. And to make games and apps, we want to support browsers. So do fall back to HTML5 audio for browser support. I just wanted to show you some of the things that you would want to do in WebAudio, and then that you can fall back on HTML5 audio. It's things like initializing, like preparing, right? It's getting your new audio context. It's actually prefixed right now in Chrome and Safari, so it's WebKit audio context. Hopefully they move away from that. And then HTML5 audio, you're just newing up an audio object. I like this syntax better than document.createElement audio, so use this one instead. To load a resource for WebAudio, like I said, we have to get this buffer ahead of time. And then after we have the buffer, we can decode it into our audio stream. Then we can use it. So we just make an AJAX request out, we grab it. You just have to make sure that your response type is array buffer. If it's not, shit's gonna get fucked, man. And then when we get it back, we just pass it to the decode audio data, and we'll get a buffer. And that does it async, so you have to do your 2 callbacks, one for on error, or on success and on error. That's how you load an HTML5 audio tag. Set its source, and it starts downloading because preload is set to true by default. To play it, for WebAudio, you create a buffer source. You got to have some place to stick this buffer now that you have it, and then you just connect it to a destination. That's like speakers and headphones. Your browser, your audio context keeps track of that, and then you just want to start it. You start it on a second, so. That's how you play in WebAudio. Just a note on is the old API, and I believe that Safari only supports the old API. HTML5 audio is just calling play. For volume, again, it's a little more complicated because like WebAudio has this node system, and you just plug nodes together. So you're actually creating a gain, which is like a volume thing, connecting your source to that so that it knows about the volume, and then you take the volume node and connect that to the destination instead of the source directly, because otherwise it's just the default level. And then you can just set the gain value, and that changes the volume. And HTML5 audio, just volume. So you're probably saying, like, that's so complicated. Why is there so much boilerplate for WebAudio? It's really because they implemented this the API so that they can extend it later. Like they really paid attention to the whole node thing, so they can add a new node and you just plug it in. But so if it's so complicated, why do we want to do it? We get a ton of extras. So yeah, we can fall back for those simple things, but we can't do things like, we can't create sounds in the HTML5 audio tag. We don't have transitions. It's just like cut it off, start another one. And you can't do any kind of processing or anything on the fly. So WebAudio is definitely the best way to go. And like I said, future features, stuff like that. So I guess the goal is to turn this into that. And I think I have a link at the end to go to this. It's pretty cool. All right, so let's talk about codecs. This is a pain point, not as big as the next one, but you can see all the not supported. I hope you can see all the not supported. There is a lot. It is not fun at all. If you notice, IE does not support Wave. All right, moving on. So something that you can use, so they expose this API as part of the spec. We can check if our browser can play a codec. The function is called canPlayType. All right, so yeah, that's a cool function name. But I don't know about you, all of you, but I don't like getting strings back from my functions that say maybe or probably. Like 0 to 1, come on, we have floating points. So if the browser thinks it maybe can play, it returns maybe. If it thinks that it probably can play, like what does that even mean? I don't know. Like why can, so WebM only has one codec right now, so why is that a maybe? If it doesn't have that codec, it shouldn't be able to play. So I don't like it, but it's in the spec. So to get full browser support, because IE doesn't support Wave, we need MP3, and everybody likes MP3s. MP3s are supported by Chrome, IE, Safari. Some of the Firefoxes, like weird edge things, like if it's a brand new Firefox on a platform that has MP3 codec installed, it'll go out to the operating system and use it, but it doesn't come with it, so that's a big pain. So expect to use WebM or OGG on Firefox. Also, Chromium does not have it. So if any of you use Chromium, you don't have MP3s. And Opera doesn't, and that'll be based off Chromium, so it still won't. And like I said, Chrome and Safari, they also support this stuff, but IE is the main thing, so you probably want to start with MP3. So how do we decide which codec to pick and use to play our sound? We can have an array that has both of our sounds in it with a different type and a different extension. If we start with MP3 as the first one and WebM as the second one, we can just iterate over them, returning early, of course, when we hit one that doesn't return empty string. We check if it can play type, and then we just assign it to the source. And I have comments at the bottom telling like what browsers would have which extension. And all of my examples, I just did a fiddle and then I kept building on the fiddle, so like the links are at the bottom. So what if we try to do an MP3 when it tells us maybe and it doesn't work? It just errors out, like big error is horrible. But we can listen for the error event. And if we do that, we can then filter out our current one since we know it errored, and we can try the next one, right? So we filter it out, and then we just do our same iteration over and get the next one that's available. If you're doing a bunch of like different codecs because of file size or whatever, this is very helpful because you just keep trying. So I said we had maybe, and I said we had probably. And now we're catching errors, but the errors happen after we try to get something, so we're doing a round trip to the server, which sucks. So what we probably want to do is try all the probablys first, then try all the maybes. So what we can do is we can go over our whole array of sounds, find all the probablys, put them at the beginning of a new array, find all the maybes and shove them at the end. Anything that gives us an empty string, just ignore it. And then our set source kind of becomes a little easier, and we also don't need to filter. So you do set source, and you just shift off, and you're trying all the probablys, then you try all the maybes. So that's good. That's the least likely to make a second round trip to the server, which is good. Turn it into a function, call it load. It just news up an audio object, injects the file name into our array, and gives us all of that boilerplate we just wrote, and then it returns the audio object out. So then we can just call play, and we know that we have one that's either working or completely didn't work at all. So in Frozen, we have some plugins, and we use them to manage resources. I was really proud. I had a lot of fun with it, and I'm really proud of the load sound implementation plugin. It defaults to WebAudio sounds. If you don't have WebAudio, it falls back to HTML5 audio. If you don't have HTML5 audio, it falls back to a no-opt version, just empty play and empty load, all this stuff. So you can just write the same code. And if you call this extension with a file name without, if you call this plugin with a file name without an extension, it will auto complete the extension. So it will do the maybes, or the probablys, then the maybes, and get you the best sound. All right, so done with codecs. What do you guys expect play to do? All right, and load? All right. Me too. So these are the specs, and I just copied and pasted them because it's the spec. You can see media load is supposed to load. Media play is supposed to load if it's not loaded, and play. It's supposed to load. We don't need no stinking spec here. Chrome works. Chrome loads, Chrome plays. Firefox plays, loads. IE even plays and loads. Opera, Safari. How about mobile Safari? No. But Chrome on Android? No. There is hope, though. Firefox on Android. It plays and it loads. And Firefox OS plays and loads. What? What's wrong with this? You guys lost all of it. It was beautiful. Anyways, there's beautiful, beautiful logos up there. So iOS's excuse on their developer documentation, copied and pasted. I don't care if you read all that, but read that. God, yeah. Read this. So preload and autoplay are disabled. JavaScript play and load methods are also inactive until the user initiates playback. So in my JavaScript that I wrote on my web page that a user chose to go to, I cannot play or load a sound without them touching the page. And then Android, on the same bandwagon. It's intended was their response to a bug. And then 30 days later, that bug was closed. So then somebody opened another issue saying the exact same thing. And there's the source of that quote. In my other slides where I point to the bug, I point to the new bug. It will cost data usage. Remember that quote. We will get back to it. Meanwhile, you can download terabytes of images unrestricted. Try it. Don't even display the images, just download them in the background. Okay, so they're going to stick us with this weird requirement that's off-spec and terrible. So how do we work around it? We bind to touch start because we're on mobile, because mobile is the problem. And we call load. So we intercept this user interaction, and then we just remove it because we only need to do it once per audio element. You can't do it on one and then it works for all of them. It's each individual one. All right, so this is our workaround. This is what they tell us to do. So all's good, right? We intercept user input, and these sounds are loaded. But nothing is actually how it seems. You intercept user input and call load, and it loads them a second time. That means on Chrome, on Android, it already loaded them. They are saving data usage by already loading the files and telling you that they don't load. So we can do better because we now know this, because I thought that I could write some code and it would work the way I thought, and then I debugged it and it wasn't. We can set the volume to 0. We can play the sound so that it doesn't load. And then we can pause the sound immediately. Then we can turn the volume back up. Is it solved? It's actually as solved as we can get it. So there's still some latency because it feels like it pulls down some but not all or something. It's weird. Like, this doesn't give you a lot of information. As you can see, it doesn't even show that it's loaded. It like shows pending, and it doesn't. And even when you call load, it doesn't show loaded. So there's weird, and it's still latent. So that's the best we can do. But at least we're not loading things twice, which is good for the user, right? All right, so we have a new hope. And that is disable gesture requirement for media playback. Yes, do it. If you have Chrome, on Chrome for Android, you can go and enable this and do it. Please, 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 please. It will make everybody's life easier. And hopefully, because they have this flag now, I'm hoping that they actually try to move that into unflagged, which is a good thing. So I can't go a whole talk without talking about streams. You know, like there's this node thing, and like they say streams. I'm just kidding. So audio streams. So audio streams are like playing one sound and playing another sound at the same time, right? I'm getting really close to the end. And so we want to layer these sounds, right? We want to create a kind of a sound scene of like a person walking and a clock ticking and a gun firing, right? We want to layer all these things and make it an immersive experience. We need it. Like, that's how you make a good game. On mobile? No. You start playing a sound, and then you start playing another sound, and it cuts you off the first one. And then you play another one, it cuts it off. And these are individual elements, or like separate elements. It's not the same one that you're playing again. It's a totally different one. It just cuts it off. It's like, we cannot create HTML5 games or even like really good web apps that need sound for immersion without fixing these fundamental things on mobile. And there's no reason for them to be there. Firefox doesn't have them. There is hope, again, the return of the WebAudio. It is in Chrome again, in Chrome Beta 28. So install it and enable it. Again, flags are awesome. WebAudio, they let you play as many streams as you want at the same time, and it feels fantastic. Some of the games that we wrote actually are amazing now on mobile because you can actually hear the sounds. So we're much better than before. We need sound. Like I said, we need it for immersion, feedback. Feedback, like if you shoot a gun, you might not see a bullet fly out, but you'll hear it, right? And brand recognition, like those sounds at the beginning, the iconic sounds, right? seg, stuff like that. Sounds are, that's why we need them. So we start with WebAudio for all the awesome reasons that I already said. We fall back to HTML5 audio because it's there on pretty much everything, and it can get us kind of the way there. There are some trade-offs. Don't fall back to Flash. We all know that Flash sucks. We're JavaScripters. There's no support on mobile pretty much, right? And on desktop, it's a resource hog. Why do you want the fan spinning up for a web browser game for your user? You don't, if at all possible. So let's push WebAudio instead. Don't do Flash. Screw that. Don't write libraries for that. Push WebAudio. Go comment on the issues and +1 them and get them to get that in there faster. And enable it in Chrome. It's awesome. There's still areas we need to improve. Like I bitched about Android and iOS enough. We need to fix those. Can play type, like maybe it should be a floating point, 0 to 1. And we need some better abstractions for like WebAudio and like even creating sound, stuff like that. There are some cool stuff out there, such as this awesome list. I found Howler actually right as I was finishing up the talk. It looks really nice. And then there's some that are not fallback libraries, but actually let you do some of the sound creation and stuff. Some game engines with good sound implementations. I have to say Frozen because I did it. Sound.js looks excellent. I actually found that one while researching or making my slides. I'll probably be taking a lot of their advice. Issues. Go participate. Go forth and participate. Some tutorials and stuff to get you off the ground with WebAudio. The specs, because everybody likes reading specs. Yeah, images. And I'm Blaine. All my awesome links. And that's where my slide deck is at. Thanks.